Good morning, YouTube friends. Thanks so much for coming by. Today we are talking lime and raspberry cheesecake, all whole food, plant-based ingredients. I can't wait to show you how to make it. Keep on watching to see how. Okay guys, let's talk crust. I am starting with 7 pretty large dates that I'm just pulling the pits out of. Once I've got these pulling apart, I'm going to pour some warm water over them to soften them up even more. They're already really juicy. There's really a reason why they call these nature's candy. They're so caramely and delicious. They're going to sweeten our crust without us having to add sugar and also bind all of our ingredients together. So super awesome ingredient here. Once I've got all the pits out, I'm going to set them aside and start soaking our cashews for our filling. So here's a little money saving hack for you guys. If you're going to be making something where you're blending raw cashews, look for cashew pieces instead of whole cashews. I was able to get an entire pound of these raw cashew pieces for $3 cheaper than the whole ones. So worth looking for, and totally doesn't matter because you're blending it up anyway. Anyway, I'm going to soak our cashews and our dates in really hot water for about an hour. And then once they're all soaked and beautiful, look how gorgeous those dates look. I'm going to add those to a blender with a cup of raw almonds. I'm also going to add to the blender a cup of oats. You can totally use a food processor for this. I actually would recommend a food processor. I just have not bought one yet. So I'm using my Vitamix. It takes a little longer, but it totally does the trick. And before we blend everything together, I'm going to add my most favorite secret pie crust ingredient, and that is tahini. I'm pouring in 1/4 cup of that. It's going to add the best flavor, and it's going to help bind everything together with those dates. And then I'm just kind of pulsing the blender, pushing everything down back and forth until I get this beautiful sticky dough that still has some chunks of almond in it. We got a nice crunch. It's so yummy. You have to try this crust. If you try anything else, it's just so good. So I'm going to just pull out this dough from my blender here really carefully. And with wet hands, I'm going to start pressing it into our tart pan. You can use a springform pan as well, whatever you'd like. I don't know if you saw my lemon tart recipe. You should check that out. I'll link it above and below. But I really just needed another excuse to use this pan because it's so cute. So raspberry cheesecake it is. So once I've got it pressed down with my wet fingers, I'm going to go in with a little bit of a damp spatula and press up the sides and get everything nice and tight. And I'm going to throw that in the freezer, and we're going to start on our filling. So I've drained our cashews here, and I've poured all the pieces into my blender again. I've washed out the blender so that we're working with a clean blender here. And to that, I'm going to add the juice of an entire lime. Most raw cheesecake recipes do call for some sort of acid, but it's almost always lemon. And I feel like the lime is underrated. You should really check it out with lime. It's so good. It makes it so bright and summery. I think that's one of the ingredients in this recipe that really kicks it up a notch. I'm also going to add 4 tablespoons of maple syrup and a teaspoon of a good quality vanilla. So I've rinsed and drained about 1.5 pints of fresh raspberries. Look how beautiful those are. The color is just amazing. I'm going to start by adding in about 1 pint of those raspberries. I'm going to reserve a little bit for decoration and to add in to our mixture if we need a little bit more liquid to get everything blending really well. So once these are in, I'm going to just pop this onto my Vitamix stand and start blending. And the name of the game is smooth. We're just going to keep blending these guys until it's almost like a smoothie texture. You want none of that grit from the cashews. So we're gonna let it blend and blend. If it kind of gets stuck, go ahead and stop it and mash it down. You can also add more lime juice or a couple more raspberries if you just need a little bit more liquid. So this is what it looks like about a minute in. We're getting close. We've still got a little bit of grit from the cashew, and those cashews kind of drowned out the color of that fresh raspberry. So I'm going to add a bit of organic red beet powder to it to just Make everything really vibrant again. Plus you get the added health benefits of the beet powder, so total win-win. I'm adding about a tablespoon here, and I'm going to just let it mix in really well. Look how beautiful that is. Looks like we are ready to go. It's been about 5 minutes. Our cheesecake mixture is super smooth and velvety. There is a little hint of texture from the raspberries being blended. You can kind of feel the seeds a little bit, which I kind of really like because that's how you know there's real raspberries in there. It's super bright and fresh. So I'm just taking our filling here and pouring it all over our tart pan. Just making sure it's evenly distributed. And then I'm going to decorate with some of those reserved raspberries. Kind of push them in so they stick. And we're going to toss this in the freezer for about half hour to 45 minutes. And we'll be ready to decorate and serve it. So it's been about a half an hour or so. I've pulled out our cheesecake. It's ready to go. It's darkened up from that red beet powder. You can see a little bit of those raspberry seeds scattered throughout. I'm just decided to add some fresh lime so you know it's in there. Plus that brightness goes so well with that luscious purple color that our cheesecake has turned. And I just couldn't help myself. I'm decorating with pansies as well. Anytime you can decorate with edible flowers, you just gotta go for it, right? It's just so beautiful. So I like to keep this cheesecake in the freezer until I'm ready to serve it. It will keep in the freezer covered for up to, I'd say 2 weeks pretty easily. I serve it frozen because the way that the texture of the cashew and everything works, it's creamy like a cheesecake would be frozen. At room temperature, it gets a little bit soft. It's still delicious, so play with it, see which texture you like best, but I prefer mine as a really cold treat. And now comes the tricky part. How in the heck are you supposed to cut this thing? It's still pretty frozen. I'm gonna go down the middle because I feel like this will be a little easier than cutting into those berries and beautiful decorations. So I've just got a triangle cut out here, going through a couple times to make sure I get through that crust. I'm just going to use an angle spatula to pop it out, and we'll see how successful we are. Moment of truth. The anticipation is building. There we go. Now we're talking. See if we can pop that out of there. It's looking promising. Yes, success. We just got that little sliver in the corner there. But as far as first pieces, the first piece is the hardest one. So if you can get that guy out, you're looking pretty good. And there you have it. Raw, vegan, whole food, plant-based lime and raspberry cheesecake. I hope you guys love this cheesecake recipe as much as I do. It's so, so good. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you're staying safe and healthy, and I can't wait to talk to you soon. Cheers.